And we're live.
Good morning. This is Tuesday after the Memorial Day weekend, and it's where it's always 72 and sunny. This is John Gesser with Murfreesboro Live with Eric and Wayne, and this is their show today. We're going to go over a few things of how I think it's a neat story because how politics, I think, is a neat way to work, in that we have one candidate that is an incumbent, and then somebody was going to run against him. They actually came together, talked, and figured out that the two of them working together to elect the incumbent in this particular case would be better off for the citizens. So with that, I'll ask a few questions, and we will let Wayne and Eric tell their story. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning. Good morning.
Wayne, we'll start with you. Since you are the incumbent, tell a little bit about you, then I'll go to Eric, and he can tell a little bit about himself, and then we'll get into the story.
Well, as far as telling about me, to what point do you
Do a
want me?
little bit about the information from your business, of course, and what you do during the day, but then also what you do as a school board member currently.
Okay. Currently, I am Vice President of Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna. Rayburn Insurance Agency is one of the oldest independent agencies in the county now, with all the mergers, and of course we're proud of that fact. We're all lines, and I'm closing in on my 30th year in the insurance industry. Also run a martial arts program, Smyrna Martial Arts, which is almost 14 years old. So enjoy doing that. I have two children that have started their professions, and Zach and Hillary, and very proud of their accomplishment. Excuse me. And just try to be active in our community service organizations. I'm a member of the Smyrna Rotary, past member of the Laverne Rotary, member of the Rockville Rotary Club, and the Eagleville Lions Club. So I get around a little bit, I guess, Eric. And
true politician.
Yes, thank you, sir. Currently serve as Zone 4 school board member representing those three districts, and very pleased and honored to get to serve.
And tell us the three districts that you serve within Zone 4.
Well, Zone 4 is made up of 8, 9, and 10, and it has a portion of Laverne, a portion of Smyrna, a portion of Amarillo, possibly a little bit of Blackman. To my knowledge, all of Rockville, the Midland community, and the city of Eagleville.
And I'll do a little bit of disclosure. I met Wayne. We had some questions about Rockville School, and so that's kind of what started this, and he was very receptive to hearing me as a parent. We gave him what he needed, and we've taken care of that issue. So we appreciate him both being on the show, but also as his activity within the school board.
Thank you.
How long have you been a school board member?
I am currently finishing up the second term.
Oh, very good. Eric, can you tell a little bit about yourself, what you do day to day, and then why you decided to run for a school board member?
Sure. Well, I'm President and CEO of Cornerstone Financial. That's financial planning, retirement planning, estate planning. I deal with insurance products similar to what Wayne deals with, but a little bit different. And I handle retirement strategies and things of that nature, or business owners who are looking to retire, and what do they do with their business? How do they liquidate that? What's the most tax advantageous way of structuring that? And individuals, so that when they retire, they don't have to rely on the government to take care of them. They can rely on their forethought and their planning ahead. How I got involved in what we're doing today is I'm very passionate about the community. Been very passionate about politics in general for quite some time. I am a conservative, founding father, right-wing, Christian, and I see a lot of things in the community that are that perspective is not injected in as much as it should be. One of the things that was a major factor for me was the whole thing about Common Core. That's been creeping up and growing for quite some time over the past several years, and I wanted to do something about that to eliminate it, repeal it, remove it, nuke it, destroy it. So that was one of my reasons for wanting to get involved in the school board. But after I had, and there was a very narrow period of time that I had to do that before the deadline. So I went ahead and did that, figuring that, because I did want to talk to Wayne, but I figured that I don't have time to talk to him beforehand. Let me get this done, and we'll talk afterwards. And then I'll just, I didn't realize you can't get your name off the ballot once it's on there. You can't do that. So anyway, after I got my name on the ballot there, then I did meet with Wayne, and I made him aware of some things that were on my mind. And just as you were saying, he listened to them, and there were some things he wasn't aware of, and he's made them his issues now too. So, well, why should I upset the apple cart? It's a lot easier for someone who's already an incumbent to carry forward with the good job that they're doing, and then just add these other issues in. So there's kind of a why I'm involved, and then a little background. Also, I'm married. I have a beautiful wife, Juliet, 2 daughters that are both in college right now, both on the president's list, both on the 4.0 list. Very proud of both of them.
That's very impressive. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, I had very little to do with that. They were homeschooled, and my wife did like 90% of all the homeschooling. I did a lot of it. She did most of it. So, and they got full scholarships too. So I'm very proud of both of them.
Very good. We had issues before, and so we did homeschool for 1 year, and then my wife and I were fired by our children within a traditional or a school.
Okay.
So they let us know they were, and so my wife too did a lot of the homeschooling.
So the students, they formed a union, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, apparently.
They rose up against
our children
the
rose
teacher.
up. We will overcome, and they convinced us that they would like to go back as to.
Mom, Dad, we appreciate it, but
No, that wasn't part of it. We're going.
Well, I hope you recovered from the self-esteem issue that probably caused you.
My wife too did most of it. I was the lunch lady and the sometimes PE coach, and as they went to TNVA, which is Tennessee Virtual Academy, and I think it was out of Union County or something like that. And so we had some issues with the Common Core as well, and I come at it a little bit differently in that we talk to teachers. And so I'm interested to hear from this segment of you two talking to each other about your meeting, first of all, and then how you guys came to the conclusion that, Eric, you would, like you said, you cannot take your name off the ballot, but you would join forces and see about getting Wayne reelected. And so this segment of the show will be, for the most part, and I may ask a few questions clarifying, but Wayne and Eric talking about their meeting, the discussion within the meeting, and how they're working at getting Wayne reelected. So I'll leave this part to you guys, and like I said, I may jump in with some other questions as a viewer, but this segment of your show is ready to go. Take it away.
So you want us to talk about our first meeting?
Yes, and how you guys met, and what happened in that you can disclose in this secret location or anything.
Well, it certainly wasn't secret.
No.
And it took us a few texts to finally, get that, I guess, that comfy feeling that it was going to be a meaningful heartfelt conversation, and we wound up actually meeting at Eric's kitchen table,
Mm-hmm.
and just started talking about different education issues. Of course, Common Core was probably prevalent, and just not only talked about education, but talked about other personal philosophies too, and just found out that we really had a lot in common, and we were on our way to developing an actual friendship.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me give a little more background that'll lead into that. My philosophy on running for office is that I'd prefer not to do it. If there's somebody out there that is willing to hold public office, and I think that there's somebody that can represent the views of our founding fathers and the community properly, I'd rather support them than run myself. And people have been after me for many years to run for public office. And there's a few times that I've come close, but at the last minute I've always found that there's somebody else who wants to do it, that agrees with, you know, the same principles that I agree with, and say, I'd rather support somebody who wants it than, you know, go and get it myself. But a few things that led up to this is, first off, there was a rumor that you were going to be retiring. Okay, apparently that wasn't true. So I had heard that you weren't going to seek another term, and also a major motivation is that I have a neighbor who's a public school teacher who comes home sometimes crying at how difficult her day was because her hands are tied in so many ways about how she would try to teach the kids. And that's another story, but there's a lot of things that I thought, well, you know, if I was on the school board, I might be able to help with some of these issues. And then Common Core being a major thing of the national government deciding all the way down to the local, the smallest segment of society that, you know, we know what's best and you don't.
Let me interrupt real quick, because there is a nationwide campaign from, I guess, people who are for Common Core, and the commercial says that Common Core is not dictated by the national government. I've done some research, and my opinion is that it is, but maybe you can, if one of you know more about that, because one of the ways we run Murfreesboro Live is there's no gotcha questions, and that if we can give the other side of the story, we try to be as equal to both sides as we can, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and you bring up a very good point. If I might,
Yeah, please, I was going to ask you to.
The goals of Common Core, no one would disagree with. The stated goals are that they want children to achieve more, to learn more, and be more productive, and be contributing members of society. And the goals are standards that are set that the students have to achieve, and they're good standards. The problem that I have is the method by which they seek to achieve them. The methodology is a 100% socialist methodology. The textbooks in the lessons are rewritten to reflect a socialist point of view rather than a capitalist, conservative, founding fathers American point of view. In fact, it's not even an American point of view. Math has been redefined in how we're to do multiplication and division, addition and subtraction, to be very, very confusing. The history of America is rewritten. In fact, I was reading one textbook just last week where they summarized the Second Amendment, and they were teaching the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and so forth. And the Second Amendment, they didn't write it out. They summarized it as the right to bear arms for militia members, which is not the case. So that type of things that rewrite, and this is what's coming down. Now, another thing, too, is that they say that, well, Common Core is only focused on the testing standards. However, the testing standards, if Common Core replaces the SATs and ACTs and the other achievement tests out there, which is part of its goal, then the only way that you could pass this test is having been brought up through that system. The problem there is that the private schools and home schools and independent schools, parochial schools, all those, they have their own teaching standard. And the word that has come down is that, well, we're not going to tell you what to teach or how to teach. If you want to teach evolution, you can. If you don't want to teach evolution, you don't have to. If you want to teach this moral point of view versus that, no problem. The problem is, though, that while they may not be dictating what is taught, if you can't pass the test, you can't go on to college. And the only way to pass the test is to have been brought up in a system that has your mind thinking in the way the test is going to ask its questions.
And is that where the teachers then say, we are teaching to the test? Is that where that comes from?
Exactly.
Jump in.
Now that's what I believe is down the road and coming. We're
Okay.
just starting. Now, it may not be 100% there today, but
And I hope I get all these thoughts in without forgetting anything, but no doubt Common Core has been mired in controversy, you know, from the individuals and the groups that played a part in setting it up. But like Eric said, you know, the results are that we want to increase the rigor in our curriculum. In 2001, when No Child Left Behind came upon the scene, the State Department of Education was allowed by the Federal Department of Education to set their standards. My understanding is that each year that those standards were supposed to be enhanced or the rigor was supposed to be increased. Well, that didn't happen. And Tennessee, who was reporting excellent grades education-wise, you know, the report card was false. If I recollect correctly, at one time, our fifth graders were probably we could compare with a third grader in Massachusetts. So, needless to say, something had to change. And like, you know, the standards are so important, and the standards are better. The other thing that has changed is that it was said that Tennessee never saw a standard it didn't like. And with a 180-day school year, we had 100+ standards in all of these different grades, and which made it pretty much a situation where we had a breadth of learning but no depth. With the new standards, or with Common Core, if that's what you want to, how you want to state it, we now have, depending on the grade level, 25 to 35 standards, and there are, of course, improved standards. So that makes it a much better teaching situation for our students. With Eric and I have talked about the math now, the difficulty in just adding or subtracting. The mentality here is that rather being a stoic 12 by 12 plus 12 equals 24, it's looking at it, I guess, what would you say, in different angles, trying to almost look at it as an algebraic equation, trying to develop those critical thinking skills that x plus 4 equals 7. You know, how do you get there from, you know, through that formula? So the other issue as a school board member, and Eric and I have talked about this, is that as a school board member, you can be against it, but what's problematic is that as an elected school board member, you are required by state law to implement what the General Assembly passes. And as of right now, Common Core is the law of the land in the state of Tennessee, and for the problems that it has with recommended reading lists, which I've certainly seen some of the book. I know of some of the books that are on it. Those are problematic. They are inappropriate for any grade. And I talked to Director Odom about a policy developed by the board to give more oversight, so that those books that are inappropriate do not slip into our curriculum. So we both see the issues, but the standards are set by the because they've been passed, or the program has been passed by the General Assembly, and until those standards are replaced, until there's more direction by the General Assembly, we have no choice but to stay the course.
Yeah, that's where we can get involved, though, in helping with some of our legislators and equipping them, because again, I don't have any problem with the stated standards, and neither do you. Our problem is with the process by which we get there, and like you said, some of the reading material. There was one that a couple of weeks ago that I was looking at. I think I forwarded to you.
You did.
It was full-on pornography that the children were required to read, and it was in 8th grade. And some of the people watching this might have seen it because the story did go viral on the internet. There, the father being arrested for objecting to his 8th grade 14-year-old daughter having to read pornography.
I saw that, and having him taken out in handcuffs.
Yeah, and outside of the 8th grade classroom, you have to be 21 years old to purchase this material to read it. But inside the 8th grade classroom, well, 14-year-old girl, it's appropriate. Something is wrong with that, and when the father complains and is arrested, then you know what? There's a bigger problem than just Common Core. The problem is there's a mindset that what's wrong with pornography? I guess with that one. But anyway, I've been following that story as of course you have too. So these are some of the things that are woven in with the new agenda. Call it whatever you want, Common Core or whatever other name it falls under. We have to get back to where we're monitoring what is being taught to children. And there's really only one thing, children should be taught knowledge that is appropriate. Math should be how to do math. Social studies should be social studies. History should be history. To redefine and reorganize everything into this, I don't know, Hugh Hefner mentality or something. It's just, no, he wasn't one of our founding fathers.
And it is the desire of not only the present board, but past boards, and certainly the central office, that age-appropriate materials are there. And we certainly do not want our children to be involved with pornographic materials, and want to do everything we can to be gatekeepers to make sure that doesn't happen.
And that's it.
Yeah, and that's why, as board members, we have to be accessible, and you have to come to come to those stakeholders and say, tell us what you think.
And part of the problem too, though, is that there's two levels here, as I understand it. There's the local school board, but the state school board is feeding stuff down to you here at the local level, saying, in essence, take it or leave it. They aren't being the gatekeeper that they're supposed to.
Well, and that was quite an issue this past year with with the textbook selection, and several of the citizens of Rutherford County became involved with others and took to task some of the errors and biases in the textbook and reviewing them. And we have a committee of different grade levels that are involved, and then those parents were involved, those interested citizens. So they certainly made their concerns known.
They did an excellent job reviewing the books, but I think the problem is they shouldn't have had to. The state level should have been looking at that material and seeing that it was filled with errors, and shouldn't have ever even passed it on to the local level. Because you don't, at the local level, have the right to choose the curriculums, as I understand it. You just approve or reject the book.
Well, they send us a group. They will vet them for. In retrospect, I think they vet them more for the assessment value rather than the accuracy value, and in the second,
shame on that.
Yeah, and of course that became quite a talked about and debated issue in this past legislative year. And it's something we're concerned about. What is a problem for us as a state, not only as a district, is that the large publishers tend to try to please Texas, Florida, and California, which are the big book buyers, and then we wind up as a smaller state buying what we feel like is most appropriate for our children, and sometimes that might not mesh exactly right, and we just have to work through that process and find the best textbook material that's available.
Well, when it comes to a student child going to school, in general, there's two sources of knowledge, or there's two main sources. One is what's in the textbook, the other is what comes out of the teacher's mouth. So if either of those are inaccurate, then why am I sending my kid to school? I want my kid to go to school to learn the truth, to learn accurate information, truthful information. But revisionist history, rewriting of events, emphasizing things that should not be emphasized, and certainly introducing pornography, I'm not on board with that.
And I don't think, and let me rephrase that. I'm confident that the professionals that are involved in our system aren't either.
Can you guys say some of the things that you're, I'm going to say a platform for lack of a better term, what you're doing while, well, of course, Wayne, while you're on the school board, how can we as parents do activities, whether it's voting for new officials, so that they can, the State House can get rid of or replace Common Core, or make it so that the teachers have the ability, because one thing as a parent with two children in school now, my concern is the teachers, bless their hearts, they have to deal with children who are undisciplined at home for whatever reason, sometimes from broken homes, or and that child comes to school either hungry or worried about home issues, and then they become harder to deal with in class, and then that disrupts the whole class. And it's not the teacher's fault, but like any position, the teacher volunteered for the job, they're there, and then the parents complain to the principal, and the principal overrules the teacher. How do we as parents get in there so that the classroom, I'm going to say, is like it was well before even I was in school, where they could teach them that 12 plus 12 is 12. It doesn't matter how you do it. And as a previous year,
not just threw out critical.
Yeah, you're right.
You've thrown critical thinking skills out the window.
24. Yeah.
Because when I'm at McDonald's, I don't care. I want my change, even if I don't use the card most of the time, the cash flow card. But how do the teachers get to be teachers again and not worry about how, they have to teach about bullying? Well, there's always been kids that have picked on each other. I think they should separate bullying from Timmy picking on Tommy or Susie saying that Sally's shoes don't match. There's a difference between kids picking on each other than bullying.
Well, there's a fine line there. Bullying, is such a distraction. We certainly have made that a priority. Here in Rutherford County, and I'm not sure if it's 65 or 67 different languages. So we are a very diverse population. Also, our district, of course, hopefully everybody knows that there's Rutherford County Schools, which is one district, and then Murfreesboro City Schools, which is a separate district, and each have their own school boards. But what you just talked about, we could probably talk about for hours, and we have
that's a huge can of worms.
we've talked a bunch already. But you know, the other than the budget issues which we're going through right now, probably the single most important aspect in education, as far as I'm concerned, is accountability, and that's not only accountability of the school board and the central office and your administrators and your teachers. What I think is the most important component and would change public education overnight is accountability between parents and children. If the students are accountable to completing their assignments, to getting their study work done, to participating in class, being present, not being tardy, and parents are engaged in the child's activities. You know, are you turning in your homework? Are you in the lower grades completing your agenda? You know, parent involvement. As a parent, both my children are out of the university setting now. So you still got a ways to go. So.
A couple more years.
Yeah, and but I have witnessed over the years of being a PTO president at several different schools for a number of years, and as a child myself in Rutherford County schools, that the children whose parents are engaged in their education, and I'm not saying just getting them off to school, but again holding them accountable for what they produce in school are the children that are very successful. With like you were saying, we feed children in the mornings, we feed children in the afternoons. We have teachers in schools and faith-based organizations that are sending backpacks of food home with children. You know, Rutherford County is quickly approaching a 50% free and reduced population, which means basically economically challenged children, which there's issues there. You know, like you said, coming to school hungry. What emotional distress have they experienced at home, especially in a broken home? So being a teacher is way past being challenged. Probably challenge should be, I'm a challenged teacher, and that would be appropriate for everyone. So they certainly have a difficult job, and society depends on them doing a good job.
I guess.
I didn't mean to talk so long.
I guess
No,
my
sorry.
concern is, as a parent with children in school now, is how do we, as parents, and maybe it's because the minority parents want to jump through the hoops to get things changed, is how do we get the administration or even the school board to put the brakes on this so that they can hold parents accountable so that the teachers can teach again?
I don't know that there is a way to hold parents accountable. It's their choice, you know.
Just in my humble opinion, the challenge that facing the teachers is I've known many teachers, and you know many more than I do, and my general observation is they want to teach the kids. Mm-hmm. They're not just there for the money. They're there because
they're not there for the money.
They're there because they want to teach the kids. But the teacher today in 2014 compared to the teacher back, say, 50 years ago would be 1964. You know, the student that's sitting in those classrooms is like alien. It's like the difference between an alien civilization and, you know, the human civilization, because the students today are so diverse in what their problems are that they've brought to school with them, not because of their own fault, but as you said, the number of broken homes, the number of the drug use, you know, psychological personalities and so forth. I mean, in the 1960s, 50s, 60s, 70s, the teacher could pretty much count on the students showing up are coming from a relatively stable home where there's discipline. Today, by and large, they come from an undisciplined home where there is not only no discipline, but the children are running the homes. So if you're a teacher and you're facing this group of kids today in 2014 compared to how it was in years past, it's a challenge that the teacher cannot solve. It has to be solved at home, and if the parents aren't committed enough to each other to stay together in the first place, and then committed to raise their children in the second place with discipline, then there's no way that teacher is going to be able to overcome that obstacle. They just have to do the best they can to the children who, for some reason, within themselves decide, I want to learn. And that might sound bleak. That might sound not very hopeful. But I'm a realist, and I know there's a lot of children out there that do come from homes where their parents have raised them with discipline and guidance. But there are, the percentage-wise today, of kids that come from broken homes with no discipline or guidance is off the charts compared to how it was in the days gone by. And that's what the teachers are facing as their challenge. Math is still math. I mean, if you forget Common Core and all that, if you're trying to teach a child 2 + 2 = 4, and that child has no ability to concentrate because they are sitting in a state of terror and panic because of the arguments going on at home, or the fear of, what's waiting around the corner for them when they go back home again. They don't even want to go home. Children coming to the classroom and breaking down in tears and crying. And the teachers realizing that there's something deep going on in this. They don't care that 2 + 2 is 4. They don't care.
And
Can I interject one other thing? We are blessed in Rutherford County, and I can't speak for the rest of the state, but I feel like this is true too. But we are blessed in Rutherford County to have a set of education professionals, our teachers, that continue to be challenged differently each year with concepts, with new standards, with evaluations, and with children that have challenges, just like Eric was saying that. But even with No Child Left Behind, Race to the Top, Common Core, the Tennessee Diploma Project, whatever is thrown their way, they continue to rise to the occasion. With Rutherford County being one of, if not the best education districts in the state, the way we have gotten to that point is by having teachers who have felt threatened, with their license and with their salaries, and it's just amazing to me that they continue to progress and go forward, even though they are facing professional challenges plus challenges in the classroom. And that's just amazing to me that they just keep on keeping on, even
They
through
don't just give up.
that they won't give up the ship, and we are blessed as a community that they are willing to do that, because again, I'll say again, as education progresses, so does society.
Absolutely. And one more thing too is that what I was describing before about the classroom, that if the teacher has to be the teacher and try to also be the parent, that's a very, very difficult challenge there.
Certainly.
The best thing that could possibly happen in the classroom is for parents to stop focusing on everything else and having their children kind of be like a byproduct, or just and there's a lot of good parents out there. I don't mean to sound like all parents are bad, but there's a lot of homes where the child is sort of an afterthought in the home. Now, a friend of mine described a solution to the problem, but I'm not sure how well it would go over. But that would be to require the parents to come into school, meet with the teacher, meet with the principal, because there's a disruptive child, and then have them go on some sort of a work project for the weekend, perhaps picking up trash along the highways. And if the parents did that with the child as a form of discipline, those parents would then, of course, be immediately concerned about their child doing better, so they wouldn't have to do that again. The problem would be solved, but I think there'd also be pitchforks and torches to come and
Probably so.
take down whoever suggested such a preposterous idea.
Yes, I would.
Well, they could blame me because I think
That was your idea, right?
Well, I can't
You're
take
all
credit
for
for
it.
that, but I think I would be worse than that person. And I think they should take that on. But in the minutes that we have left, let's bring it back to your re-election and how you're helping Wayne be elected. Some of the things that you guys do feel very confident that Wayne can do to get to, and that us as parents and voters can manage to help the. And I think you're right. We went to Aaron is in Rockville Middle School, and Wayne, do you know how many elementary schools there are in Tennessee? It's 204. I
do not know.
The number is kind of high, I believe, that the principal said, and I think Rockville was 64th or some. It was a fairly high number for the amount of schools, and Rockville Middle was the only school that sent its middle school that sent a science team to, I guess, Knoxville, wherever the state tournament was. So with all these concerns we're facing and all the other things, I agree with you that Rutherford County, separate from the city, and maybe their city schools would have similar numbers, I don't know, that we do have a good system here, despite, I always say for our children, they're growing up and becoming very good despite what I'm doing to them. I think despite everything that the parents and the children throw at the teachers, they're doing probably as good as they could be expected. But in the minutes left, can you guys tell the activities you're doing to get you reelected and what you hope to bring or hope for us parents to do to talk to the governor and the state legislature in our county legislature, our government, to change or bring things back to where the teachers and the students can continue to do well?
Want me to start with that one?
You can if you want to, or I will.
I've got a couple of things. As far as reaching up to the governor and the state level there, Representative Rick Womack is someone that people out there watching this, if you want to reach out to Rick Womack and support him and help him. He is very, very aware of the education system in Tennessee. He knows what's good about it. He knows some things that need some fixing, and he needs some help. So that's one of the things we're doing. In fact, we have a meeting just 2 weeks from Tuesday, so in less than 2 weeks. We have a meeting with him and some others to talk about a couple of things we can do. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, on the local level here, if the state level is just kind of like turning on that fire hose and feeding it down to the state level, or the local level, it's very difficult to push back against that. So that's why one of the things that we came out of our discussions was, well, what can we do to jump up to the state level and see about affecting change there, so that at the local level it doesn't have to be such an uphill battle. As far as getting Wayne reelected, well, I'm not doing any campaigning except for making sure I tell people that ignore my name on the ballot. And Wayne is a good guy, and we've talked often, and I talk to a lot of the people. I've talked often to the people in my community here about why I was running and now why I support Wayne. But I do have, I'm having a gathering here for the community of where I live coming up in July, where I'm going to have Wayne here and a couple of other elected officials, and just to kind of get the word out, give everybody a chance in this community to sit down and talk to their elected officials. Because I think part of the disconnect is that so many people. I think it's great that people go and vote. I don't think enough people do go and vote. But I think what I think is a problem is that so few people even take a moment to reach out or sit down and talk to any of the elected officials. my parents, for example, their entire life they voted, never missed an election, but have never met a public official, never met the mayor, never met the governor, never met senators, congressmen, state level, local level. It's not hard to do. They seem fairly accessible. And if I'm going to vote for somebody, I want to sit down and know who they are. And I think I view it as they're my employee. They work for me. They're my servant, right? Public servant. My tax dollars pay their salary. So this is my employee. Well, I want to sit down and talk to my employee and let him know that he's in danger of being fired if he's doing the wrong thing, or keep on going in the right direction, and you can expect my continued support. So I think the community, so that's the purpose of this event that I'm having, is where I'm inviting the community over to sit down and talk to their elected representatives. I'm sure many will be the very first time they've ever met face to face. I don't know, what are you doing to get reelected?
Well, first off, I'm very grateful for your support. I'm very grateful also for the friendship that we've developed in these conversations that we've had. And literally, I think you have vetted me like we should all vet anyone running for office. You have to be able to explain and identify your positions. And I hope that if nothing else, that I am accessible, number one, and that if there's a question about a vote or an opinion or philosophy, that I'm here to share that with whoever asks. We're in a different environment, from what we have been in the past. We have digital learning. Our children don't learn like we do, and it's it's just a different education system, but it's also in most aspects a much better education system, because our children are not competing for profession or employment just in Rutherford County, or just even in the state of Tennessee or the United States. We're a global program now with different nationalities and investment throughout this nation. So we'll continue to have challenges. We'll continue to confront those challenges, and I would be grateful to continue to serve. Tried hard to, this is something I don't think you knew that we talked about in the our first conversation, but school board members are the only elected official in the state of Tennessee that's required to have continuing education. And I think it's outstanding that that's a requirement by state statute. I think it would be a good thing for all of our public servants to have access to. And
term limits would be a big help also.
Okay. But I've tried to embrace that continuing ed by becoming a level 5 board member, which they classify as a master school board member, and in getting elected to the TSBA organization as an officer. I think that gives Rutherford County a little more voice, with the state.
Now, real quick, is that Tennessee State School Board Association, or that acronym?
Well, it's TSBA, Tennessee State School Board Association, and what that is, it has become an arm of the state to develop and deliver the curriculum for the continuing education for school board members. Also, it's a lobbying effort for our students, for the almost 1,000 school board members that it represents across the state too. So it's an organization that's there to promote and enhance and help education promote and develop policies.
Real quick, do you know about, other than how we and you guys need to give your contact information if you don't mind, whether it's your email or something, so that people can maybe get back with you. But now that we know about the Tennessee School Board Association, if we wanted to go to them for information and help, how would we get in touch with them?
Well, I think you would, of course, internet, they're on the internet, but I think you work well with your school board members because they are the TSBA. So the TSBA literally are employees of the school board members across the state. So I think you're jumping a step by going to the TSBA without communicating with your school board member first. It's kind of like going to the principal before you talk to the teacher that there may be an issue with. So.
And another thing, I just to add to something we were talking about a moment ago about election strategies and campaign strategies, is that you and I, I'm sure that we don't agree on everything 100%.
Sure.
But the differences don't warrant running against you, and the differences are incredibly minor when it comes to the things that at least that matter to me about running for office. There's a lot of people out there that I think are doing a fine job holding elected office, and I wonder, why is someone running against them that virtually has the identical platform? When I see that, I know that it's and I have no problem with someone that's America. You run against anyone you want, but I wonder if it's more for personal ambition versus what is best for the community. Because if I had the position over Wayne, let's assume that I would do just as good of a job. Is the community better off, equal? I mean, if it's not going to be better off significantly, then I would rather support the person who has it there.
Well,
now,
that's why, real quick, I found this story interesting, is because to me that's how politics works, or our system of government, their great experience works, is how people working together can make the community better rather than people working against each other for some self-ambition, or the mindset of why am I running for office? Is it to change something or make something better? And as we get ready to close the next minute or two, we will have the links in your information with this Hangout. But when it goes to post, we will have the information that some of the things we've talked about, so that viewers can learn about both of you and some of the other associations we've talked about, so they can go to the school board members and do things correctly.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to reach me, I suppose they could just email me. It'd be probably the simplest way to do that. You gonna have that information, or should I just mention it?
You can tell it to us, and we'll have it as well.
Okay. The simplest email to reach me at is just Eric, E-R-I-C, at cornerstonefinancialtn.com. It's cornerstonefinancialtn as in Tennessee.com.
And the two easiest way to reach me would be to go through the Rutherford County School Board site and go to school board members, and you can click on my email address there. It also has my home phone number listed, 220-6151, or you could do blair.wayne@comcast.net. So that would make it easy too. So thank you, Eric. Thank you, John. I've enjoyed being with you.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has.
And I want to thank you too, because the purpose of Murfreesboro Live, of course, is getting the information about our community out. And I think after traveling even to Japan and meeting somebody from Murfreesboro, this is a unique place, and how we can help each other is just what Wayne and Eric are doing. And that's working together for a better community. This is John Gessler with the Wayne and Eric Show on Murfreesboro Live. Thank you for viewing, and hope you have a great day.